Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Today's topic is about insomnia and using the training wheels, as I've been calling them, for our meditation practice for that other purpose. So, besides just using them to aid in concentration, what I've discovered is that some of these little aids in concentration can actually be used for relaxation. And that's something, on retreat, on my very first retreat in Koh Samui, Thailand, that was something that was taught to us and encouraged us is to use a particular technique to calm the mind before we really started into the vipassana part of the practice, right? Vipassana meaning seeing things as they are. So using a technique to build concentration for a while, and not only concentration, but a relaxing of the mind. And so this is really what I want to talk through today, and just its application to insomnia. So if you have difficulty sleeping, this is something that I personally use when I'm having difficulty sleeping, and I just want to tell a short little anecdote of what happened about, I don't know, about 15 minutes ago. Is that I woke up and I saw that there were messages on my WhatsApp, right? And that this is it's common that my alarm goes off and I see that I've got a bunch of notifications while I was sleeping, and then I just ignore them and I come here and I start setting up for this live event. And today, for whatever reason, I didn't do that. And I opened my WhatsApp and I looked at the messages and I started replying to those messages. And then, like, before I know it, it's like 5:22, right? And I'm going to be going live in 8 minutes. And the usual prep that I'm doing to really prepare myself to come in and have this live event, I've kind of squandered in responding to this WhatsApp message, and then noticing how the difficulty I'm having in shifting my mindset from responding to these messages, which I spent a bit of time because it was kind of a kind of a politically charged message in a way that I was responding to, and so just kind of noticing that as I'm trying to shift gears into being here, being present with you all in this live event. And I thought, as I was preparing in the 8 minutes that remained, I kind of realized, I'm like, hey, wait a minute, this is something that tends to happen when we can't sleep. Is that we engage with, well, I mean, you don't have to engage with your device. You could engage with a thought, but if you do happen to wake up and your device is beside your bed, and you pick it up and you open it and you take a look at it and you start reading the messages, the kind of engagement that's going to happen to your mind is quite likely going to make it even more difficult to go back to sleep. And so forgetting, not even mentioning, like, what does blue light do to us when we're trying to sleep? What kind of signal does the light send to our brain? Just the mental engagement with that conversation, or that, whatever it is that your notification has told you, this is something important that you should bring your attention to, and you should respond to it right now, because that's usually what notifications are trying to do for us. They're trying to grab our attention. And that's the real, that's the war today, is the war inside of our minds and the war for our attention. And you'll find that if you do engage with that and your attention starts to go there, that sometimes that thought train starts to careen out of control, and then sleep becomes more and more elusive. And so, again, remembering the attitude of non-judging, If you've already picked up your phone and looked at it, if you've already woken up and engaged with whatever thoughts are there, and that, I guess that's another thing that has happened to me recently, is waking up and engaging with some thought. It's, what, June 15th is my tax day, being an American outside of the United States. So always around this time of year, if I haven't submitted my taxes yet, that's something that shows up, right? As I'll wake up and I'm like, oh yeah, the taxes, I gotta do that. Oh, and what other things do I have to worry about? I was in a relatively serious car accident on Saturday, and thank goodness my family and I were okay. We were in the front of the accident. I mean, the car in front of me slowed down suddenly, so I put on my brakes and slowed down suddenly as well, and managed to avoid hitting that car. But there was a huge chain reaction of cars hitting me and then behind me, and then so I found that that was really disturbing, and it made it hard for me to sleep. So just noticing all of these different things that might make sleep more elusive. And this is the first step, is mindfulness, being aware of the thoughts that we're having, and also being aware of what's happening inside of our bodies. I mean, one thing that was interesting about this accident is I found that I'm a person who has arrhythmia, that quite often certain things will trigger my heart to start beating in a non-rhythmic kind of way, atrial fibrillation. And so that's something that I noticed that happened that first night after the accident. So a lot of that going on. So being aware that the effects that the mind has on the body, the mind and the body and the emotions are not independent things. That a thought can cause an emotion, which causes a bodily sensation and can cause things to happen inside of our bodies. We can, in fact, even use our bodies to decode what emotions we're having. And that's another really powerful thing that our mindfulness practice does. So it helps us to make those linkages so that when we start to feel that like tingling in the mouth, the dry mouth kind of feeling, right? The coolness in the neck and the chest. These are things that I experience when I find myself having an adrenaline rush. And those don't only happen when I've just had a car accident or something really exciting to the nervous system in that way, in terms of a physical threat. But I find that tends to happen as well when I feel that my sense of self has been threatened. And certainly when I get challenged on certain things, especially things that I consider myself an expert in, I find that sometimes these symptoms happen. That my experience of a threat to my sense of self can be almost as activating to my body as a threat to my physical well-being in my life. And so, how do you experience these challenging thoughts and emotions, and what happens, and what's the cascade that continues to happen? Once these stress hormones enter the blood, they don't leave immediately. They do take time. And there are different studies. How long does it take for cortisol and adrenaline to leave my blood? And so when you engage with that kind of conflict thought, how long do those hormones last? And then can I reasonably expect myself to go to sleep immediately? I think that's something that that is, one of the keys to recognizing and stopping the cycle of insomnia, is recognizing that stress, that self self-perpetuating stress of wanting and needing to go to sleep, and the thoughts that go around that. Hey, if I don't go to sleep now, here's what I'm going to be like in 6 hours, right? If I don't go to sleep now, here's what I'm going to be like when I arrive at work in the morning. If I don't go to sleep now, right? And these thoughts tend to be unconscious. We try not to think about them, and this trying not to think about them actually enhances them, and dials up the volume of these thoughts, and our unconscious mind keeps going down that path. So, is it possible to accept that this is the state of the mind, and whatever adrenaline or cortisol that's going on, this is the state of the body right now? That kind of acceptance in the mindset can be very productive and beneficial for getting over the insomnia that you may be experiencing. And so we're going to get into practice here shortly. What we're going to be doing is practicing a technique that can be used with insomnia. So the very first piece of the technique is simply counting. And counting is used as a way to occupy the mind, so that instead of focusing the mind on this external thing that's bothering us, which may be nothing more than just, I can't sleep, I want to sleep, I'm going crazy because I can't sleep, please let me go to sleep right now, right? Maybe that's the thought that's in the mind, right? So if nothing else, we're filling the mind with something else besides those thoughts, and that's counting. So breathing in, breathing out, 1. Okay? Breathing in, breathing out, 2. And we can find that this concentrating the mind on counting can really help keep the mind from keeping the monkey mind active, right? The monkey mind is the concept that your mind will always try to find something to do. So unless you give the mind a purpose, the mind's going to kind of go off and do its own thing, right? Which often is thinking unproductive thoughts that are, in this case, making sleep more elusive, right? So that's one of the steps. So one of the steps that we can use is counting the number of breaths. That can be used in conjunction with or independent from counting the number of seconds in the breath, okay? And the thing that we want to do here is elongate the exhalation so that the exhalation is slightly longer than the inhalation. And there, I think it was like the 4-7-9 technique. Like that's another technique that can really be used here, because we're, this kind of key of elongating the exhalation. I personally have not practiced using that while I have difficulty sleeping. I mostly just do counting and elongating the breath without any breath hold in there, right? And so the idea of elongating the breath is counting the natural inhale, counting the number of seconds. So let's see, it's maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. And then as we exhale, we're purposely allowing the out breath to be a bit longer than the inhale. So maybe I counted to 4. Can I add 2 seconds? Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then, right? How engaged does the mind need to be? Is going to be dependent on your self-knowledge of your degree of insomnia, right? So am I going to go inhaling 2, 3, 4, exhaling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3. Right? So it's really about knowing yourself, because right, if we're too engaged, then we can't sleep because we're too concentrated. I mean, I've experienced that as well, is that trying to trying to use counting to go to sleep, but then I'm so focused on the counting that the counting itself makes my sleep elusive. So the key is this kind of self-compassion. Be cool with the situation the way that it is as best you can. Experiment. If one of these techniques doesn't work and you're still awake, try another one. See how it goes. Thanks, Sue, for your well wishes. It was. I think the most traumatic thing for me was there were two motorcyclists who were badly injured, and that. And I just a few months ago did a course called Trauma Sensitive Mindfulness. I attended the course, and so I hopefully in the near future I'll start sharing those on live events, because it's very interesting to see how that car accident kind of made it so that I could touch post, just a tiny touch of post-traumatic stress, what post-traumatic stress feels like and how it's triggered. So much more useful than reading and talking about it is experiencing it for myself, even though it was unpleasant. And I'm thankful that the car accident wasn't so bad, because it made it so that I got to have a sample without having to feel it in full force. Okay, I'm kind of late. I'm about 7 minutes late in starting the meditation, so we'll go ahead and get into it. To my surprise, this topic's been a really fun and engaging one to talk about. So get comfortable wherever you are. If you like, allowing your eyes to close. And because this practice is, what we're doing today is to try to aid when insomnia comes. So if you like, of course it depends on what time of day it is for you and what you've got going on. Maybe it's time to try lying down today. Because lying down during meditation practice, from my experience as a meditation teacher, really does put a lot of people to sleep. So just maybe experiment with that today and see how this breathing technique may affect you as you're lying down. Of course, I'm going to be sitting up, as I can lead practice easier this way, and there's nothing wrong with sitting or standing while you're doing your practice. So just choosing the posture that's right for you today. Let me invite you to just take a moment to check in with who's here. And I mean into yourself. Like, what version of me is showing up today? What's the body feel like? Do you feel tension in the body? Does your body feel relaxed? Can you notice your pace of breath? Maybe your heart rate? What kind of signals are they giving to you that you can decode? Am I stressed? Am I relaxed? And so let's narrow this spotlight of awareness. Maybe not down to laser focus, but at least focused like a small flashlight onto where we feel the breath. And for me and for many beginner meditators, one of the best places to observe the breath is at the belly, because we can really feel the expansion and contraction of the belly as we breathe. And so imagining that tiny flashlight maybe, shining that light down on one spot on the belly. And for me, it's about, let's say 2 or 3 fingers above the navel. Just kind of can feel that place in my belly rising and falling better than the rest of my belly. So simply observing the rising and falling of the belly as you breathe. Letting the breath flow in its natural pace, not forcing the breath in any way, at least not at this point. Just beginning to concentrate that awareness. Really shining that flashlight as brightly as possible on that spot that we're using to observe the breath. And so whenever you're ready, we're going to begin counting the breaths. So we'll inhale and then exhale, and that's 1. Inhaling, exhaling, 2. Inhaling, exhaling, 3. And so I'm very aware that as I guide the inhale and the exhale, you might synchronize your breath with my declaring the inhale and the exhale. And so I think the best in this moment is for you to breathe at your own natural pace, not following whatever it is that I'm saying. However, making sure to let the count increase by 1 at the end of your exhale. And my encouragement as a meditation teacher is to reset the counting after 9. So after we reach 9, then we repeat. Inhaling, exhaling, 1. Inhaling, exhaling, 2. And after we're finished, I'll explain a little bit more about about why that is. For now, just keeping that breathing and counting going. So let me invite you to check in with yourself again. Who's here now? Are you more relaxed than when you started? Are you more tense, perhaps? Just taking this moment here to check in. And then we'll begin on the next part of our exercise. So now, as you breathe in, counting the number of seconds of your natural inhale. So maybe inhaling 2, 3, 4, and then as we exhale, seeing if we can purposely elongate the exhale by about 2 seconds. So inhaling 2, 3, 4, exhaling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Inhaling 2, 3, 4, exhaling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. Inhaling 2, 3, 4. Exhaling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3. Inhaling 2, 3, 4. Exhaling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4. So you continue at your own pace. And again, I know when I'm leading the breathing that it's very tempting to go along. Maybe a 3 or a 4 second inhale is not the right inhale for you. Maybe longer, maybe shorter. So just choosing whatever is good for you. And you may notice that as time goes on, that natural inhale may change. As the body relaxes, or if the body is relaxing more, we may find that that inhalation starts to get a little bit longer. So maybe now it's inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now let's slowly begin to let go of the counting. So coming back to allowing the breath to be as it is exactly, with no counting the number of seconds of the inhale or the exhale, with no more counting of the number of breaths. See if you can just fully focus your attention on that little flashlight on your belly. To really be with the physical sensation of breath. Now I'll invite you to take one more look at your body and your mind and your emotions. Who's here now? What version of you is here in this moment? Is it different from the one who began the practice? Is it different from the one who checked in the middle of practice? What is different? Where do you feel the differences? Is your breath different? Is your heartbeat different? Is the tension in your muscles different? Is the nature of your thoughts different? Is the nature of your emotions different? What is happening? What has happened in the last 20 minutes? And so congratulations everybody for having made it through our practice. I'm going to close practice with 3 rings of the bell. All right. Congratulations, everybody. Well done in making it through today's practice. What happened? What versions of you showed up at each part of the practice? So please, I would encourage you to write in the chat what happened. What have you been experiencing lately? Whatever you're comfortable sharing. And just to go back, as I mentioned, I would explain why we count to 9 and not 10, and why we reset the counting is in the spirit of non-striving. So just to remember that we are not trying to go somewhere. We're not trying to get to 100. We're not trying to achieve something through our counting, right? And so this kind of, there are 2 things. So one is that we're not achieving anything. So like 10 kind of feels like achievement. So I've purposely chosen the number 9 so that we can recognize if we accidentally go to 10, because we're looking for that sense of achievement. So that's the twofold. One is not to strive, not to keep going, to continuously count because, boy, I feel, wow, I made it to 100. Woohoo! Right? There's no prize for making it to 100, and I think it's important to have a method of practice that's non-striving in nature. And number 2, to use it as a way to notice distraction. That if we accidentally count to 10, that to notice that distraction has happened. Okay, it's about time for me to wrap up. If you found today's session useful, would encourage you to donate. It certainly helps me to be able to continue doing this work that I'm doing, and to help to better myself as well, to have more, to be able to go on trainings and know about more topics to be able to share with you. I'm looking forward to sharing trauma sensitive mindfulness when I'm in the upcoming weeks. And the other thing is, if you don't follow me on Insight Timer, I would encourage you to do so, because that maybe that's the easiest thing you can do to help me. So that gives me more visibility and makes it so that more people can engage with my material, and that also helps me keep being able to do this thing that I love to do, which is sharing mindfulness and encouraging everybody to have a regular mindfulness practice. So thanks again, everyone, for being here today. Wish you all the best in whatever you do, and I'll be back. Thank you, Jean, for your donation. Jean says, I got distracted thinking about Certoposturpedic sheep. Yeah, I know that brand. Thanks, Jean, for sharing. I love hearing about people's distractions. Okay. Let's go ahead and close our practice the way that we do. And I'll see you next time. Next time is going to be my Tuesday, perhaps Monday for you. we're going to be starting to shift into training. Okay, training wheels is kind of like a way to give ourselves a little compassion. So we're going to talk about self-compassion in a little bit more detail next time. So look forward to seeing you then. And until then, let's encourage you to keep up your daily practice, and let's share our well wishes with each other as we go. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. May all sentient life around the world, around the universe, wherever it may be, I wish us all happiness and peace. Thanks, everyone. A joy having you as always. Until next time. Bye-bye.